A millionaire doctor was her ex-husband at birth. What he did next left everyone shocked. The cold hospital corridor felt like a trap. Emma's fingers trembled as she clutched the thin hospital blanket around her shoulders. Outside, the dying golden leaves of late autumn swirled in the wind, mocking the sterile silence inside. Her newborn baby lay somewhere just behind those heavy doors, hooked up to machines that beeped their steady, ugly rhythm, every second hammered in her chest like a warning. Then she saw him. Daniel, her ex-husband. Not just any man, but the millionaire doctor whose name shook headlines for saving lives in impossible cases. The very same man who vanished from her world years ago, leaving behind shattered hopes and questions that never got answers. And now, he was here, right here, overseeing her baby's care. Emma's breath caught, chest tightening as if the cold walls were closing in. How? Why now? Her mind raced like wild smoke. The nurses hushed, casting sideways glances at the tall figure in the crisp white coat, walking steadily toward her. His calm face hid something intense, something that sent a spark of reluctant hope jabbing through her fear. Whispers floated around them. "Isn't that Dr. Daniel Foster, the one who disappeared after the scandal?" Someone muttered. Another voice cracked. "What is he doing here? With her?" Eyes followed every step Daniel took, eyes wide and faces pale. Daniel stopped a few feet away, his gaze locked on Emma's strained figure. "We need to talk," he said quietly, voice steady but pressing. Emma's mind rebelled. What talk? What game was he playing? All she wanted was answers, and yet the old parts of her, buried deep in pain and fury, screamed for her to run. But she couldn't, not now. "I'm here because of her," Daniel said, nodding toward the neonatal intensive care unit beyond the door. "And because there's more at stake than you know." The hospital's harsh lights flickered as if echoing the storm inside Emma. She swallowed hard, feeling the raw ache of exhaustion and old wounds clawing under her skin. The past wasn't done with her. His proposition hung heavy in the air, something urgent, dangerous, impossible. Whatever Daniel wanted, it wasn't just a reunion. It felt like a trap and a lifeline all at once. Emma's heart hammered against her ribs. Her voice was barely a whisper. Why now, after all these years? Why show up here at my darkest moment? Daniel's eyes didn't waver. Because this time, nothing is what it seems, and I'm the only one who can protect you both. Silence fell, thick and crushing. The cold beep of machines seeped through the sterile quiet. Emma's gaze drifted to the tiny cradle behind the glass. Her baby, so fragile, fighting on. The fragile threads of their broken past suddenly tangled with this fragile new life. What secrets was Daniel holding? What risks could he face or force her to face? And how far would either of them go to save what's left? Emma's legs felt weak as the future wobbled before her. Unsteady, blurred, full of shadows. The door to the NICU stood between them and every truth yet to be revealed. And Daniel? He was poised to make the next move. What happens next would shatter everything Emma thought she knew. Hey, before we continue with this incredible story, I need to give you an important warning. Many subscribers have reported that YouTube removed their subscriptions without notice. Just take a quick look at the red button below to make sure you're still subscribed to the channel. I don't want you to miss any exclusive content coming up. And since you're here, smash that like button, because it really helps me with the algorithm. Oh, and tell me in the comments, which city are you watching from? I love getting to know every amazing person who is part of this community. Your participation makes all the difference. Let's interact. Emma's heart thudded violently as Daniel's words hung between them like a heavy fog. She glanced back at the NICU, her mind racing. But before she could respond, something crashed into the calm, shattering the moment. A loud alarm pierced the air, the beeping machines escalating into a frantic cacophony. Nurses rushed past them, faces painted with urgency, and panic ignited in Emma's chest. "What's happening?" she gasped, her eyes darting toward the glass. Daniel's calm was a mask. She could see the tension primal in his clenched fists. "Stay here, Emma," he said, his voice a sharp command as he turned and sprinted toward the chaos. Everything blurred as she tried to make sense of the frantic movement behind that sterile glass. Heart racing, she pressed a hand against the wall for balance. Behind the barrier, she could see her baby, a tiny figure struggling, fragile, tangled in wires and tubes. A nurse waved, directing others, and Emma's breath hitched as she fought against the rising wave of fear. Suddenly, a voice jolted her from her panic. "Is this your baby?" A woman, clad in scrubs, stood beside her, eyes wide with concern. "Yes, please, what's wrong?" Emma felt her insides twist in knots, panic threatening to swallow her whole. The doctor's trying to stabilize her. There might be complications with her breathing. We'll do everything we can. The nurse's voice was steady, but there was a shadow there that made Emma's skin crawl. And that's when she saw it. Out of the corner of her eye, Daniel was shouting, waving his hands. But something had changed. A security guard stepped forward, his face grim. "Dr. Foster, you need to step back." The reaction sent an icy wave through Emma. "Daniel? In trouble?" He made a quick glance toward her. His eyes were fierce, sharp like a knife. The trust she didn't realize she had started to unravel. What was this danger looming around them? "Wait!" she shouted, confusion clouding her thoughts. She took an unsteady step forward, but a firm hand grabbed her arm, the nurse restraining her. "You need to stay put." Emma's mind spun. The man she thought she knew, the one who once vowed to care for her, now looked like a man on the run. Why had he really come back? Stories came flooding back of the scandal that had driven him away. Whispers of betrayal, hushed accusations of malpractice that haunted him. Had he come back to face it? Then the truth hit her with a force of a freight train. What if Daniel's return was not just to protect her and their child? What if putting him in close range now meant exposing the truth? As the ceiling lights flickered ominously, doubt crept in. Then the nurse's radio crackled open. "Dr. Jones reports a critical emergency in the NICU. All staff, please respond." Emma's eyes went wide, her chest tightened, every breath felt heavy. Something was wrong, and whatever it was about to explode. Through the noise, she caught Daniel's eyes. They weren't just filled with the determination she once recognized. They were tinted with desperation. "Emma, listen," he yelled, trying to be heard over the chaos enveloping them. "You have to trust me." "Trust you?" Her voice rose with every word. "You walked away. You left when I needed you most." A sudden shout echoed through the corridor, halting her in her tracks. "I'll handle it, Daniel." Another voice boomed, familiar and chilling. Emma turned to see the figure of Dr. Martin, Daniel's former mentor, stepping into the fray, a man notorious for his ruthless ambition and dangerous connections. The past dragged like a weight behind her. What did he have to do with this? Her heart raced. What had he and Daniel been caught up in? What line was he willing to cross to protect his reputation? And what about her baby? With the tension at its peak, she felt the ground shift beneath her. The worst was yet to come, and she wasn't prepared for the revelation that would tear apart everything she thought she understood about Daniel, about her life, and the very existence of her newborn child. As the alarms continued to wail, Emma's world spiraled into chaos, leaving one question blaring through her mind amidst the fear. How far would Daniel go to keep them safe, and at what cost? Emma felt the air around her pulse with tension, each heartbeat drowning in the chaos echoing off the hospital walls. Daniel's fierce eyes held hers, trust wavering like a fragile thread. The alarms blared a relentless warning, but she couldn't tear her gaze from him. He stepped back from the fray, voice ringing out above the noise. "I came back for you, for her, but I need you to believe me." "Why should I?" Emma shouted, heart racing. "You left without a word. What could you possibly know now?" "Because," he hesitated, as if the truth caught in his throat. Then, all at once, his expression hardened. "Because they're after us." Confusion twisted in her gut. Who's after us? Before he could answer, a sudden crash broke the tension. The glass doors to the NICU swung open, and a flood of nurses burst out, visibly shaken. Then she saw it, an ominous figure gliding behind them, dressed in a dark suit, his presence cold and commanding. Dr. Martin. "Back to your stations," he ordered sharply, his face a mask of calm in the storm of panic. "We don't need any distractions." Emma's heart dropped. "He's here?" Daniel's eyes flared. "He shouldn't be." The air thickened with unspoken danger. Emma felt everything narrowing in on her. Daniel, Dr. Martin, her baby, and with each passing moment, dread coiled tighter inside her. Something screamed inside Emma, and she decided right there, "I'm going to check on her." But before she could move, Daniel grasped her wrist. "No, you can't. That's my baby, my have-to." The world spun, voices muffled as she tried to shake him off. But behind her, Dr. Martin's voice dripped with sly authority. "You really don't want to get involved, Emma." Suddenly, a flash of silver caught Emma's eye. It was a syringe, gleaming ominously in Martin's hand as he approached. "We have protocols, after all. For her safety and yours." The sight snapped something inside her. "You're trying to control this, aren't you? What are you hiding?" For a moment, the chaos around them froze. All eyes turned to Dr. Martin, whose smile twisted into something dark. "Oh, sweet Emma, you have no idea how fragile this world can be." Daniel's grip tightened on Emma. "Get away from her." But the shadows of Dr. Martin's past loomed. "You always were too naive," he said, voice a low rumble. "Everything is at stake. And your little reunion? It's all part of a game you can't comprehend." Emma shook her head, her heart pounding. Was this some twisted setup? What game? Then the unthinkable happened. A second nurse stumbled out of the NICU, eyes wide with terror. "Dr. Martin, not now," he snapped, but Emma could see everything unravel. "It's happening again. A breach." The panic in the nurse's voice cut through the noise, igniting new waves of chaos throughout the corridor. Emma's world tilted dangerously. "What breach?" Martin's face lost its composed mask, revealing desperation. He turned sharply, ready to dive back into command. But Emma felt something shift in the air. A name floated back in her mind, one associated with nothing but shadows. The Consortium, a notorious organization rumored to manipulate lives and careers. "Are you part of the Consortium?" The words ripped from her, startling both men. Silence engulfed them, charged and expectant. Daniel looked towards her, shock etching deeper lines in his face. "Emma, you don't know what you're saying." But before he could finish, everything exploded into noise and motion. Alarms blaring louder, lights flickering, marking the final moments before the truth broke. Emma's stomach dropped as everything she thought she knew about her marriage, Daniel, and even her baby spun out of control. "Emma, don't," Daniel shouted, launching toward her as the crowd surged around them. But it was too late. The moment was lost, and within chaos, the answer to her desperate question slipped away, leaving a vast ocean of fear and uncertainty. What truth lay waiting around the corner, and how deep were the roots of deception? As the ground shifted beneath her, Emma held on to one imperative thought. How far would she go to uncover the truth? Emma felt the air pulse with tension as the world felt like it was slipping away. Daniel's gaze bore into hers, and for a moment, they were frozen in time. The alarms blared. "A change now?" Before he could respond, the moment exploded. The doors to the NICU swung open with a crash, and people poured out like a tide. Nurses, doctors, and chaos incarnate. Among them, Dr. Martin emerged, his expression shifting from authority to something darker, something Emma could feel crawling up her spine. "Back to your stations," he ordered. But Emma knew this was more than a routine emergency. This was a man with hidden motives, and she was determined to uncover them. Then a nurse staggered out, panic etched across her face. "Dr. Martin, we've got a crisis." Dr. Martin cut her off, but Emma was already shouting. "What crisis? Tell me." In that moment, The world seemed to shift around them. The nurse's words echoed in her mind. It's happening again. The breach in security. A flash of fear crossed Daniel's face as he looked at her, the urgency clawing at his composure. Emma, this is bad. We're in real danger. And then, the truth collided with her heart. The consortium. It was all connected. The scandal that drove Daniel away. The whispers of malpractice. But there was something deeper. Something involving her baby that she couldn't yet grasp. Before she could process, she caught the gleam of a syringe in Dr. Martin's hand. We need to act fast. You won't understand until it's too late. He spat, advancing toward them with a smile that didn't reach his eyes. Time slowed. Emma could see it clearly then. Dr. Martin was no mere doctor. He was a puppet master, and the strings pulled in dark, twisted ways. She stepped back instinctively, but he moved closer, intent in his eyes. "Stay away from us," Daniel shouted, body tense, ready to protect her but unsure how. In a split second, the chaos erupted again. An emergency siren blared, the hospital lights flickering, as if the entire building sensed the turmoil. A wave of security personnel rushed in, faces set with grim determination. Emma's heart raced. No, you can't. She was losing control of everything. Her baby's life, Daniel's trust, it all felt like it was balancing on a knife's edge. But then, from the shadows, emerged a figure that made her stomach drop. A woman, familiar yet transformed. Leah, Daniel's former partner, and the one person Emma never trusted. "Emma," Leah said, a smirk dancing on her lips as she slipped closer, voice dripping with condescension. "Didn't think you'd be back here, did you?" "Leah," Daniel's voice cracked, filled with outrage and disbelief. "What are you doing here?" "Same thing as you, Daniel," she shot back, her eyes narrowing, protecting the prize. Emma's breath caught, confusion gripping her. Why would Leah care? What did she mean by prize? Realization crashed over her. The stakes were higher than she imagined, and it wasn't just about her baby. It was about a game that twisted lives and destinies. "Is this what you both were hiding?" she yelled, desperation clawing at her throat. "What are you really involved in?" Leah laughed, a sound that chilled Emma's bones. "Oh, sweet Emma, you're too late to the party. Just like with your little marriage, you thought you knew everything. But you have no idea what's at stake." The gravity of the moment hit her. This was more than a reunion. It was a trap, a power play threatening everything she held dear. And in that breathless silence, something crashed behind her. A sudden explosion of sound that cut through the air. The nursery doors blowing open, an urgent shout, "We need help here!" Emma's heart plummeted. Shaken, she turned to see the chaos unfolding around her, the stark reality settling in. Who could she trust? And what truth lay buried in the shadows? As fear gripped her tighter, her breath caught. One thought pierced through the storm. Everything had changed, and nothing would ever be the same again. What had Daniel really done? What path had their lives taken that led to this moment? Emma stood at the edge of an abyss, her heart racing. Everything she thought she knew, shattered. What was the real game? And how deeply were they all entrenched in it? Emma felt the walls closing in, suffocating her with uncertainty. Panic throbbed in her chest, a relentless drumbeat that matched the blaring alarms. Daniel's fierce expression lingered like a flame, but Dr. Martin's twisted smile sent chills down her spine. Leah stood nearby, a silent observer, gauging the pulse of chaotic tension. "Get away from her." Daniel's voice broke through the chaos, but Emma couldn't focus. Her eyes darted from Martin to the nurses rushing past, the urgency screaming that something was terribly wrong. And then it happened. From behind Dr. Martin, a figure burst through the crowd, broad and frantic. A man in scrubs, his face contorted in fear, shouted, "We can't hold it." And suddenly, the air shifted. It was as if darkness swallowed the light. Emma's heart dropped. What can't you hold? But before she could grasp the gravity, the lights dimmed. A loud crash resounded, echoing like thunder. The walls seemed to tremble. People screamed. Emma's hands covered her ears, but the sound was relentless. In that split second, a low rumble erupted beneath her feet. shaking her to the core, and the floor cracked open. Everyone stumbled. Doctors and nurses fell against one another as the ground quaked violently, threatening to swallow them whole. Emma struggled to remain upright, her heart racing faster than the chaos unfolding around her. Shrieks filled the air. Bodies danced to panic as the crushing darkness made the world seem unreal. Daniel grabbed her arm, his grip a lifeline. "We need to move, Emma." His voice was a solid anchor amidst the storm. But where? Where could they? "Run, Emma!" Leah's shrill voice cut through the noise, but the sentiment in her eyes shifted. "The NICU, we have to go!" "No!" Emma shot back, fueled by instinct. "Not my baby." But as the ground split wider, light poured through from a gaping maw below, illuminating the chaos in stark clarity. And with that light, an unsettling sound emerged. Voices, whispering, weaving through the horror. "They're coming, take her, the baby, find her." Emma's breath hitched. What were they saying? A rush of wind swooshed from the abyss, nearly knocking her back. Pools of shadows twisted and writhed, forming shapes that felt all too familiar. And then she saw them. Faces, flickering in and out of the darkness. The lost, the forgotten, appearing like ghosts. "Daniel," she cried out, heart pounding. "What is happening?" He turned pale as he recognized them. "It can't be. They didn't follow us." Emma's mind reeled. Who are they? But then it hit her, a gut-wrenching realization. The whispers merged into one, and a name pierced through the chaos. The consortium had not just been watching. They were here, lurking, and they didn't just want their lives. They desired something far darker. Before they could react, a strong hand seized Emma's shoulder, spinning her around. It was Leah, eyes wild and desperate. "You need to listen. They're here because of you." "Me?" Emma didn't understand. "Because of your baby." Leah's words hung heavy in the air, the truth slamming into Emma with a sickening thud. "You're the key. They need the baby." Daniel shifted closer, panic rising off him like steam. "The baby? What do you mean?" But before anyone could process the words, the shadows lunged forward, a haunting chorus of voices echoing her name, Emma. And with that, the ground opened wider, darkness swallowing their surroundings. The world shifted again, and a blinding light flared, casting eerie silhouettes on the walls. She would have given anything for clarity, for safety, for answers. "Get back!" Daniel vaulted protectively in front of her, fear etched across his features. But the shadow surged, and then everything exploded. An unearthly shriek tore through the hospital, shaking the very foundation, and Emma's heart raced as the unknown loomed closer. Could it be true? Was she really at the center of this nightmare? The truth threatened to engulf her, and with every heartbeat, fear whispered, if they got what they wanted, there would be no turning back. Then came the voice, cold, slicing through the chaos. "We've finally found you, Emma. It's time to come home." And in that moment, she knew. Nothing would ever be the same again. The question loomed. Could she protect her baby from a past that was hell-bent on reclaiming her? What would become of them all? Emma's pulse raced as the darkness encroached deeper, chilling her to the bone. The voice hauntingly called her name. Again. It sent shivers through her. Who were they? What did they want? With Daniel red-eyed and fierce beside her, she felt the weight of their shared tension. The path ahead was penetratingly murky, but it didn't matter. The moment the blinding light flickered and the shadows lunged, she braced herself for the worst. And then it happened. A sudden crash erupted from behind the shadows, and the ground beneath them gave way. Emma's heart dropped as the floor exploded, debris showering down. The darkness receded, just moments before a figure leaped through the opening, shrouded in dust and smoke, tumbling onto the floor with incredible force. It was a woman, her hair wild, eyes bright with urgency. Emma squinted. Through the haze, her heart racing, the air vibrated with an unexplainable intensity. "Stop!" the woman shouted, her voice cutting through the rising panic. "You have to listen to me." "Who are you?" Daniel barked, instinctively stepping in front of Emma, eyes fierce. The woman swung her head back, pulling off a mask that revealed wide, terrified eyes. "I'm not here to hurt you. I'm here to warn you. You're in grave danger. The consortium, they've infiltrated everything." Danger? Emma's mind whirled. Her thoughts raced back to every detail, every fragment of their lives she'd been piecing together. "What do you know?" She took a deep breath, shaking the dust from her hair, revealing a scar that ran across her cheek. "I was part of them, but I escaped. Emma, they're after your baby, and they're using Daniel as bait." The air thickened with disbelief, and a shock shuddered through Emma's chest. "What?" Daniel stepped closer, his voice low. "What are you talking about?" The woman locked eyes with Emma. "You think it's Daniel's past that matters? It's your child they want. The consortium believes your baby holds a key, a connection to something bigger than anyone understands." Emma's mind was racing. "But why? What connection?" "I can't explain now," she breathed out, glancing nervously over her shoulder. "They know I'm here, and if they find me, I'm not safe." Then a chilling thought hit Emma, like a punch. You were part of the consortium? You're saying you turned on them?" The eyes of the woman turned cold, and emotions swirling there. "They betrayed me. I was their loyal agent until I saw the truth." "Nobody leaves the consortium," Leah interjected, the incredulity twisting her features. "You're lying." "Am I?" the woman shot back, defiance shining in her eyes. "What's the truth, Leah? How deep is your connection to them?" Leah's expression flickered, unease creeping in. But before she could respond, Dr. Martin's voice cut through the air. "We're wasting time." "Get away from her," Daniel growled. But the urgency growing in everyone was palpable, a sea of vulnerability crashing over them. Then came the twist, an explosion of memories and truths. The woman gripped Emma's shoulders fiercely. "Your baby wasn't just born yesterday. She's part of something." At that moment, a loud crash echoed from the other side of the corridor, cutting her off. Dr. Martin smirked, his earlier facade crumbling. "You think you can escape? That you can hide the truth? The truth is, Emma, you've only scratched the surface of what's really going on here." As Emma's heart raced, everything turned upside down. The revelations whirled through her, connections, secrets, betrayals. How had they all become tangled like this? "Trust me," the woman said, eyes pleading. "If you don't leave." But before she could finish, Daniel's hand shot out, grasping the woman by the arm. "No, we can fight this together." Suddenly the lights flickered furiously. Shadows crept close. The ground trembled as if alive. Emma's heart thudded, and amidst the chaos, she felt the dark emptiness surrounding them shift. She realized the truth wasn't just layers waiting to be uncovered. It was a living beast, hungry for its next bite. As the reality of their tangled fates crashed over her, one thought burned bright. Who else had been pulled into this game? And would they all emerge unscathed? The ground quaked again, and the woman let out a scream that rang in Emma's ears as the shadows surged forward. Emma's breath caught, and dread filled her. "Stay back," she shouted, straining against the encroaching darkness, unsure of who or what would survive this latest storm. Emma's heart pounded as the chaos swirled around her. Shadows danced across the walls, flickering in the harsh overhead lights. The woman, still gripping her shoulders, looked terrified. "You don't understand. They're not just after your baby. They want to control the very future of medicine. The consortium believes your child holds the key to unimaginable power." Daniel's face twisted with confusion, anger bubbling up. "What are you talking about?" But before the woman could reply, the ground shook again, this time violently. Emma stumbled, Daniel yanking her close. The lights flickered ominously, every flash intensifying the shadows creeping closer. "You have to," the woman began, but then her words turned into a cry, as part of the ceiling collapsed, sending debris showering down. The air filled with dust and the smell of metal and medicine. Screams echoed, panic surged, and Emma felt the ground beneath them crack. In that moment, the shadows lunged forward, blotting out the light. Emma could barely see. She could feel Daniel's breath by her ear, his hands protecting her. Time slowed as they stumbled backward, but then an explosion of shouting and gunfire broke out. What? Gunfire? Her breath hitched, adrenaline surging. The emergency alarms screamed louder than ever as people scrambled. Were they under attack? Was the consortium here? Who could even be on their side? Then Emma caught a glimpse of something that changed everything. Through the chaos, she saw Leah standing next to Dr. Martin. But what stunned her was the way Leah's eyes glinted with triumph, a smile creeping onto her face. What was happening? Leah! Emma's voice barely made it out. Then the woman shouted, "You can't trust anyone. They're here to take you back." Almost instinctively, Emma turned toward Daniel. What does she mean? And Daniel's expression dropped, eyes widening with horror. Emma, I didn't know, I swear. You need to understand, I thought it was over. Then Leah stepped forward. You think Daniel's been on your side all this time? He's just a pawn, Emma. The moment you gave birth, they were already watching. Your child has potential beyond anything you've comprehended. The words pierced through Emma like ice, freezing the very breath in her lungs. What are you saying? It's true, Dr. Martin chimed in, voice smooth and deadly calm. The consortium did not abandon Daniel. They've been using him. He was the perfect cover, and now you're caught in the trap as well. They want your baby. He can't protect you. Heart racing, Emma shot a glance at Daniel. Is this true? Emma, no. It's not like that. Daniel's voice was frantic, desperation bleeding through, but she saw it in his eyes. The shadows, the guilt, and then the horrifying turn. The woman, what was her name? Spun around suddenly, her face drawn tight with panic. You need to run. They're going to, but it was too late. A flash of figures surged from behind, weapons drawn. Emma's pulse thundered. The shadows closed in, and she knew. This was the reckoning. Then came the twist. In an instant, the woman dropped to her knees, her body convulsing, as though she was having a seizure. It's happening. They're taking control, she cried, her voice warped, as if fighting against something unseen. Emma gasped, fear racing through her veins. What have you done? In that moment, Daniel's eyes flickered with something darker, something that twisted Emma's stomach. It wasn't just fear. There was shame. I thought they'd let us live, but they were always watching us, waiting for the right moment. And then the woman's convulsions stopped. She fell silent, eyes rolling back. The chaos faded momentarily as absolute stillness fell, the whispers of shadows creeping back, the weight of everything pushing down. What is happening? Emma whispered, hoping for an answer that wouldn't shatter her heart. Daniel stepped back slowly, realization dawning, confusion climbing across his features. Emma, it wasn't just the baby, it was you. Every ounce of trust between them fractured. And as he spoke those words, the ground shook one last time, panic spiraling into a brink of terror. Emma's breath caught in her throat as the weight of the truth began to sink in. What Daniel had known, what he hadn't said, and how deep the roots of their deception grew. And with the air heavy with dread, she stood frozen, questioning everything she thought she knew. Could she trust him? What would happen next? Emma's heart raced as she stared into Daniel's eyes, the weight of his words crashing over her like waves. It wasn't just the baby, it was you. The icy truth settled deep in her gut, twisting painfully. Emma, please, Daniel pleaded, desperation etched across his face. You have to believe me. I didn't know. No one told me. Enough, Leah snapped, her tone shattering the tension like glass. This isn't the time for excuses. Dr. Martin stepped forward, grinning like a cat who had just caught a canary. You're all so beautifully naive. You think you can escape destiny? The consortium always has a plan, and you're just pieces on a chessboard. Emma's breath hitched. What do you mean? But just then, she felt a jolt ripple through the air, a sudden shift, as if reality itself had bent. The lights flickered violently, and a loud bang reverberated through the corridor. A shadowy figure appeared, emerging from behind the wreckage of fallen debris. It was a man dressed in a sleek black suit, sunglasses obscuring his eyes. He moved with an uncanny grace, stepping forward, commanding attention. "It's time to end this charade." Daniel went rigid, eyes widening. "Oliver?" Emma's stomach dropped. "Who's Oliver?" Daniel's voice trembled. "My brother." But he was supposed to be dead? Oliver interrupted, his lips curling into a smirk. "Not quite. I see you've all been busy." He gestured to the chaos around them, eyes scanning each of them with dark satisfaction. "What do you want?" Emma's voice came out small, trembling with confusion and fear. Oliver chuckled, dark and menacing. "What do I want? Oh, sweetheart, it's not just what I want. It's what our family has always needed. Control." He moved closer, the air crackling with tension. "And you?" "Emma, you're at the center of it all. What does that mean?" Emma shook her head, her mind racing. "I don't understand." Leah stepped back, her bravado crumbling. "You shouldn't be here, Oliver," she whispered, eyes darting toward Dr. Martin, who looked equally unsettled. But Oliver laughed, a sound as cold as ice. "Oh, but I am, and I've come to collect what's mine." Then Emma watched, frozen in horror, as Oliver's hand reached behind his back, and a weapon emerged, a sleek, black gun. The world seemed to pause. A few nurses and doctors in the distance squealed, diving for cover, the stark reality dawning with brutal clarity. "Put the gun down!" Daniel shouted, his voice cracking. "I won't let you do this." "Do what, dear brother?" Oliver's gaze was unwavering, chilling. "You think she'll choose you, when she has this? When she could have everything?" Emma felt the room narrow. Time seemed to stretch. The gun trembled slightly in Oliver's grip, but his gaze never wavered from her. "You don't even know how valuable you are. They'll do anything to harness your bloodline. And you can't protect her, Daniel. You should have never come back. You've only made it worse." "Stop," Emma screamed, her voice cutting through. "What's going on? What are you saying about my baby?" But deep down, she felt it, a piercing terror she couldn't quite comprehend. Just then, the lights flickered once more, plunging the corridor into a brief darkness before exploding back to life. And in that moment, something shifted once more. Oliver's gun was gone, but before anyone could react, the sound of approaching footsteps thundered through the hall, strong, swift. The nurses and doctors had scattered, but now they surged back, eyes wide and determined. "We need to secure the area, now." Panic washed over Emma. The room twisted in on itself, a whirlwind of shouting and chaos. Oliver was trapped, surrounded. But as the urgency rose, Emma caught a glint of something in his eyes. It was fear. "I'm not done," Oliver hissed, stepping back into the shadows, his voice carrying a chilling promise. "This isn't over, not by a long shot." And as he slipped away, the clarity struck Emma like lightning. Who was she really? What connection did she share with this twisted legacy? Suddenly, every piece of her reality felt fragile, teetering on the edge of a chasm. As the frantic energy surged around her, one question echoed in her mind. What kind of game was she caught in? And how many lives would be irreversibly changed before it ended? The tension hung thick in the air. Emma's heart raced as she processed Oliver's chilling words. "I'm not done." He vanished into the shadows, leaving a looming dread that wafted ominously around them. The chaos surged, mixed with the sound of distant footsteps and frantic voices echoing through the crumbling corridor. "Emma, we need to get out." Daniel's voice cut through her fog of confusion, yanking her back to the moment. But just as the reality of their situation settled, something shifted in the room. The nurse from earlier suddenly emerged from the chaos, face pale. "They're coming," she shouted, panic dripping from her words. "We have to move, now." Before Emma could respond, she felt a sharp tug at her arm. The nurse pulled her toward an emergency exit, the urgency in her grip palpable. But Daniel resisted, holding tight to Emma, a desperate look in his eyes. "We can't leave. The baby." "He's right," the nurse insisted. "You have to choose. It's not just about your child." It's about all of you. At that moment, the lights flickered dangerously again, plunging them into dimness. The shadows seemed to reach out, the strands of darkness curving and curling like fingers. It was as if the very foundation of their reality was giving way. Emma's breath caught, a knot tightening in her chest. Suddenly, a shrill scream pierced through the noise, slicing into the tension like a knife. Emma turned, eyes wide. What was that? Then out of nowhere, the smoke began to clear, revealing a figure in the distance, the woman from before, still kneeling, trembling. The shadows began to pull back, forming almost a protective barrier around her as she convulsed again. But this time, something was different. The realization hit Emma like a lightning bolt. The woman wasn't just reacting. She was changing. The air hummed with energy, crackling with a familiar force. "No, stop," Emma yelled, terror gripping her. Daniel stiffened. "What is happening?" Before they could react, a radiant light erupted from the woman. It poured out like a wave of molten gold, filling the room. It illuminated every crevice, every worried face. Emma squinted against the brilliance, feeling it wash over her, tingling through her skin. And then the shocking truth burst forth from the light. The woman stood, transformed. Her eyes glowed with an unearthly brightness, a fierce energy surging through her. "You don't understand," she cried, voice powerful and clear. "I am the key, not just your baby." Emma's heart raced, confusion flaring into panic. "What do you mean?" The woman reached out a hand, energy swirling like a storm around her fingertips. "The consortium doesn't just want your child, they want me. They think I hold the secrets to their ambitions." Suddenly, the room buzzed with urgency and dread. Emma's heart sank. "But you said you escaped." "I did." The woman's gaze sharpened, determination blazing. "But they want to finish what they started. I'm the nexus of everything. The bloodline, it's me." Emma's mind reeled, a spiral of questions and fears tumbling through. The truth sliced through her own reality, spinning her world off its axis, redefining everything she thought she knew. How could they be ensnared in such a web? But as Oliver's face re-emerged in her mind, the flicker of a sinister smile plastered across it. She felt the chaos tightening around her once. Again, no one was safe. Not Daniel, not their baby, not even this woman. "We need to fight," Emma shouted. "We have to," but before the words left her lips, with a deafening crash and a blinding flash, the shadows turned on them. Oliver's voice echoed from the darkness, rich with malice. "You can't run from your own blood, Emma. And you can't hide from me." Suddenly, Emma felt a sickening twist in her gut. Her past, her identity, everything wrapped within the secrets and lies. She was no longer sure where the truth ended and the deception began. As the line blurred under the weight of the revelation, one shocking question lingered in her mind, clawing at her consciousness. Would they all survive the storm ahead, or was everything she believed about her family and herself about to be ripped apart forever? Emma felt the pulse of chaos echo around her, an impending storm ready to swallow them whole. The woman's radiant form dimmed, shadows tugging at her, as Oliver backed away, a sinister grin playing on his lips. "You think this light can save you?" he sneered. "You're just a flicker in the dark." "Enough!" Daniel roared, stepping forward, desperation fueling his every word. "You don't control her." Emma's veins buzzed with fear and rage, the tension surging like a living thing around her. Ignoring her pounding heart, she locked eyes with the woman who was still, emanating strength. "What can we do?" "Focus on your bond," the woman urged, her old power flickering back to life. "Only together can we counter their darkness." Oliver laughed cruelly, taking another step back, analyzing. "You think a few words can hold back the inevitable? The power of the consortium is over." Emma cut him off, words spilling out like fire. Without thinking, she reached out to the woman, reaching for the energy coursing through her. We can't let them win. Daniel stepped beside her, his hand gripping hers tightly. In that moment, warmth surged through them, fueling their resolve. It was as if a bridge had formed, a direct line to the power this woman embodied. The air crackled. Energy swirled around them. The woman's voice joined theirs, lifting higher. Together, we can unleash the truth. Together we break the chains. The shadows writhing against them flared, and suddenly, the energy surged like a tidal wave. Light burst forth, engulfing Oliver and the shadows. Emma felt the pull at her core, a sensation she had never known, a connection that exposed their vulnerabilities and liberated them from unspeakable bonds. No! Oliver screamed as the light expanded, engulfing everything. You'll regret this. The room exploded with brilliance, a sound like thunder enveloping them as the shadows screamed, disintegrating into nothingness. Emma squeezed Daniel's hand tighter, her heart racing in rhythm with the pulse of the light, feeling as if she was flying. And then it all fell eerily silent. As the glow dimmed, Emma opened her eyes, finding herself standing in the wreckage of the corridor. The chaos transformed into stillness. The woman, now a familiar force of light, smiled, her face radiating warmth. You did it. You broke the cycle. Tears prickled at Emma's eyes, relief sweeping over her. But Oliver and the consortium? They'll have to start over, the woman said, her voice steady yet firm. With you no longer trapped in their web, they're weaker than they think. Daniel looked at Emma, a fierce determination in his eyes. We're not finished, though. This battle began long ago, and they won't stop pursuing us. We have to be ready. Emma's heart tightened, but there was a flicker of hope in her chest. Then let's prepare, together. As they shared a moment, that warmth enveloping them, the woman spoke one last time. You are stronger than you know. Trust in that. The air shifted again, warm and inviting, grounding them in this new truth. Emma stepped forward, exhaling deeply. Thank you. And as the echoes of the past began to fade, Daniel wrapped an arm around her, their connection deeper than ever. Together they would forge a new path, not just for their baby, but for every moment lost in darkness. As they walked away from the remnants of chaos, Emma took a breath, feeling the weight of the world lift slightly from her shoulders. They were stepping into their future, filled with promise and resilience. But before we close this chapter, I need you to listen closely. This is the moment to show your support. You have to subscribe right now so you don't miss any of the next exclusive stories. Smash that like button right now to feed the algorithm, and let's make this community soar. Flood the comments section with your thoughts and theories about the ending. I want to hear from you. And don't wait even one more second to share this video with at least 5 friends who need to see how this ends. Your engagement matters. Let's build this community together.